Everyone, welcome back, and in this episode we're going to carry on building on our profile functionality, and specifically I want to be able to use this form to post and create the profile on our backend and also include this gender and bio. Now I have my application running. I also have my API running in the background here, and I'm using a .NET Watch Run to run it. So it is watching for changes. Now what I want to do is I want to go to profile, and I want to add the gender and bio fields. All right. So let's quickly see what I chose to use for the gender. So I have male, female. Okay, so I have strings pretty much everywhere here. That's fine. So let's go ahead, copy a last name here, and call it gender, and we can copy it again and call it bio. Save it like so. Cool. All right, that should be it. That should be good. All right. Now, if I remember correctly in our profile here, yeah, so we're just getting the profile here. So what we want to do here is we want to use our API. So let's copy this. And we want to post this form to our API. Okay. So let's create a method right here, methods. And let's call it create profile. Based in our API call here, but instead of get, I want to do post. And where we specify our route here, after it, we can specify, I don't know if we hover over it. No, it's not going to tell it. But basically, this is where we want to put this form. So it's just the data that we're posting here, okay? And let me see what we're going to be returning from creation of that profile. And let me close this. So let's see, post, and I return the profile that I've created. Okay, so that's fine. We don't need to use this now then. We can pretty much just say to do store result in Vuex. Okay, so once we're going to be creating a profile, we want to globally store all the profiles somewhere here. Okay, so cool. So let's try to create a profile. Let's see what happens. So let me actually remove this div right here, the one that displays this data here. Let's start with form valid true. And maybe that's not it. Did I say? Never mind. Let's just do this. So first name, Anton, Bobster, gender is male, age 24, bio, I like candy. Okay, all right. So not much of a response. In fact, there was no response. So let's at least do that. Let's alert arrest.data. So let's alert what we created. So let's do another one. Kappa 1, female 17 something. Cool. All right. Don't be silly and make sure that you hook up your create profile. We don't need to put what's called the curly brackets here. We can just call it by name. So just make sure we're calling this method now. Let me refresh this. Anton, anything really? anything goes. 16. Submit. Okay, so here we're returning our object. Let's go to profile, and here we see we're displaying Anton. So let's make a kappa here. 20 real bio. Okay, another object, and here we see kappa. I guess we can display something a little bit more. P dot last name and p dot age and p dot gender. P dot bio. Cool. So here's all the information for our thingies, for our profiles. Cool. Very nice. One thing I would like to do is this button right here. At the moment, I'd say it looks a little bit dull. Let's be honest. This button looks dull. All right, so let's go into our components, generics, right? And what we want to do is we want to add a, what should we call it? Let's call it a submit button.view. Okay, let's scaffold. Let's give it a name of, what should we call it? So we're gonna call it awesome something. S button, submit button. A S button, a S button. Yep. Yeah, I think that'll be right. All right, so let's make a button element here. And let's put in a slot. So what slot will let us do is essentially just say, put some text here. Okay, so if we would, we probably need to import this here. Yep. So let's make a button. Let's import this here. Okay, make sure I spell everything correctly. Okay, nice. Let me close the profile. Let me close this. I'll keep this open. And I'm not deleting this just yet. And let's do a S button. There we go. And let's say something. Whoa. And let me put this here. Okay, so here we have our button. And this slot is obviously putting, basically what it's doing is it's taking this text and it's putting it inside of this slot right here. Okay, so what do we want to do with this button? Well, first of all, let's style it. So if I remember correctly, I'm using stylus for my preprocessor. So yeah, stylus and scope. Okay, so I'll take this button and let's give it a color of what do I want it to look like? I'm not much of an artist. Let's do something. Do something simple. Give it a little bit of just a little splash of red. RG, and I don't know. Let's see what this will look like. And that looks crap. I have to be honest. That looks really bad. Let's grab this and let's take this background here. I want to take the color picker. All right. Make it look a little bit better. This is what every artist does. How do I want to submit my form? Yeah, I'll take this color. Okay. All right. Now what I want to do, I want to remove the border. Yeah, I just want to say 1px solid 000 for black, and padding, I'll just say 2 rem for now. That's too big. 1 rem. Still too big. 0.5. Okay, cool. 1 rem on the sides. That's alright. Now let's do a box shadow. Right, everything has to have a box shadow these days. If I can spell it correctly. Box shadow. Yeah, I spelled it correctly. 0, 0. I think we can remove the. And I will give it. There we go. Right. So I want border none. Okay, look at that. That is a button. Look at that. That's a button there. Let's remove this. Oh. Yep. I guess kinda. Okay, nice. What if we move it 1 pixel to the? Yeah, I think. Okay. This episode is gonna be all about styling this button, guys. I want like when I do my buttons, they have to be perfect. You know. Active. Focus. All right. And the focus, I want outline none. Oh. Okay, nice. So what I'd like to do now is, if I'm hovering on it, let's take this background and we will elevate this button ever so slightly. Okay. So, and let's take the color. We are gonna make it just a tad lighter. There we go. Okay. Transition is in 150 ms. Too slow. A little bit too light, to be honest, I'd say. Again, let's take this color, plop it here, make it just a tiny bit lighter. There we go. And we want cursor pointer. Okay. And now, when I click on it, so focus, shadow. I want this to be I guess I could say none. Maybe not box shadow. Let's say active. Look at that. That's a lively button. Let's give it a little bit more speed. I'd say that's an okay looking button. Let's keep it at that. Okay, now we can give this a couple of what's it called? A couple of props. What we can do is say props, and let's say loading and required false type boolean. Yeah, let's keep it like that. And basically, we want to say, let's put a span here. And let's say if. I mean, I'm not using font awesome here, but you know, if you have font awesome, you can put an icon here or something like that. I'm not doing that, so for the sake of not creating an animation, etc., I'm just gonna say loading. All right, and the else is gonna go here. All right, and here we can say loading false, and when we create our profile, we can say this dot loading equals true. All right, and if this dot loading, we want to return. All right, but this safeguard is kind of obsolete. We want this to basically, we want our button to handle all that. Okay, so let's go ahead and bind loading to this, and once we are done here, let's say this dot loading equals false. And now also we can take this, click here, put it here. Okay, now what we can do is we can say also we can disabled, and let's this, and let's do this. So we're gonna bind disabled based on form valid. Okay, and yeah, I just removed this button, and please fill out the form thing. Okay, and in here I'm gonna say and disabled background. I'm just gonna say EEE for gray. Okay, and there it is. So it's gray. Let's also because I think we'll still try to submit it. And box shadow none. Okay, it's a little bit too dark. Okay, that's fine. Let's give it a border. 1px solid. Can't get over this. Okay, there we go. So, and cursor, I want to say, ooh, I can't remember what it's called. Ooh. Uh, not allowed. There we go. Not allowed. There we go. Not allowed. Cool. So one thing is though, if it is disabled and we click on it, doesn't actually. I thought disabled didn't actually do that, but it does prevent it. Okay, that is okay. So we want to say disabled if form is valid or loading. Okay. And let's say false from the start. Otherwise, I'm already seeing bugs. But yeah, let's see this. Let's do bob 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 bob. Everything's a bob these days. Okay. So it is disabled. Why is it disabled? Oh, okay. I'm gonna put a not here. Okay, so I might have just created like 1,000 profiles. No, I didn't. Okay, so one thing is we are listening for a click event on this component, and this component is a view component. It's not a button, right? So the create profile is never going to get called, all right? Because we are clicking on this button, but this button is not this component, all right? This component is all of this stuff. So when this button gets clicked, this click event is not being emitted, okay? So what we can do is when we click on this button, we want to emit a click event as well. Okay, so let's refresh this. Let's pop, creating profile, and there it is. Okay, so one thing is never get to see the loading because it's pretty much instant. So let me grab this and let's do a thread dot sleep. So I'm gonna basically put this thread to sleep for 2 seconds. Okay, so let's call this thread. Oh, and the mail. I don't know if that. All right, and there we go. CC work. Oh, but never mind. So you basically you get the picture. That the loading button is there, and really this is not named, but just so we know that it's working, that the loading there is working, and that the button is disabled while it's loading. So basically, if we are submitting a form and we double click on it again, we are essentially not going to submit the form again. Okay. So this will be it for this episode. Thanks for watching. If you're enjoying this, like, subscribe. Have any questions, leave them in the comments. Anyway, thanks for watching and see you in the next episode.